Welcome, I'm Yaël Ksander. Since 2010, an all-volunteer effort has produced the annual Trashion Refashion Runway Show in Bloomington, Indiana. What started as a playful fundraiser for the community's Center for Sustainable Living has grown over 10 years into an extravaganza of haute couture, fashioned from scraps otherwise destined for the trash heap by artists and budding professional designers, and modeled by a diverse and unconventional troupe of models. Traditionally held around Earth Day every year at the Buskirk Chumley Theater, the runway show has featured up to 90 designs in 2 acts, together with music, dance, and performance art components. When the spring 2020 Trash and Refashion show had to be canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the organizers brainstormed alternatives. Trashion is about community, creativity, sustainability, and resourcefulness. And the organizers drew up all of those values to bear when devising this year's production, what they're calling a screen dance responding to this difficult year. The 10-minute video they created showcases 13 designs created from recycled materials and discarded garments, animated by choreography by Jaffe and music by Janiece Jaffe, against the backdrop of the Woolery Mill, a disused limestone quarry and production mill. The video was shot and edited by Lucas Lim. Support for the production comes from Bikesmiths, Olympus Properties, Lisa J. Baker, DDS, and Plato's Closet. To preview the video, we'll hear from the artists behind the production, modern dancer and choreographer Selena Jaffe, singer Janiece Jaffe, and producer Lucas Lim. Let's get started. Janiece, it's great to see you.
Great
You
to see you.
as the liaison here between Trash and Refashion and the screen dance that was eventually created. So tell us how you decided to perform that role. How did you get interested in the Trash and Refashion show in the first place? And what was the process of transforming it into the production that we have created?
Yeah, well, Gene Smith asked me to be the music for, usually there's 15 minutes in the show where everything is being changed and you kind of need a little music or some kind of entertainment in the middle. And so she said, well, we would love for you to do it. And I have this idea about improvisation and a dancer. And it just so happened that my daughter was back from Ireland and she is a dancer. So I was like, oh, that's so exciting. I'll ask Selena. And so we were going to just improvise, basically, on stage. It was just going to be complete live improvisation. And when we found out that the show was not going on, we had to find alternatives. And so I kind of turned it over to Selena, and it became the video that it is now.
Thanks, Janiece. Selena, it's great to have you coming to us from the south of France, from Cannes, which is pretty exciting. We have an international production here. So the themes of the Trash and Refashion show: sustainability, resourcefulness, creativity, working with what we have. How did those themes inform the work that you did, and how did it get transformed from thinking about doing the live show to producing, choreographing and producing a video?
Great, yes. So it transformed quite a lot. First, it was going to be kind of a solo, and like my mom was saying, an improvisation between the both of them and so on. And then from that into, okay, we're going to make a screen dance. And that was a really exciting thing because I was trying to work my way to making a screen dance already, because it's sort of what's happening right now. Everybody's going online and finding a way to make dance relevant in this video format, which actually has been going on for a long time, or helping organize a couple, so on and so forth from there. And so I wanted to bring that training that I had to Bloomington. And, you know, there's a good thing that comes out of something that's difficult. And so that's kind of where this idea was born into making a screen dance. And then I'd say kind of how those themes translated and changed were, of course, because of the environment. So during my master's thesis, I was actually focusing on this concept of how do you make choreography based on where you are, on the environment. And I really wanted to do a responsive site-specific piece. And so when we found out we were able to use the Woolery Mill, I was really happy because it was a place that I could go to kind of 3 times a week for the whole summer and just get used to the space and see what the space was saying and how I could respond to it, and how what my art could do would be to bring what are we feeling in 2020 and how is it related to this space, and how can I merge those two together along with this concept of community, which is really, really important because we were so torn apart. How can we kind of piece it back together, and how is that related to trash and refashion? And it kind of just made sense because you're taking pieces or people that are apart and finding a way to weave them together in a way that's artistic and makes sense in that kind of broken, I don't want to say broken, but you know, that this is very raw space of the Woolery Mill where everything used to be something, and but then there's this kind of endless open space and possibility as well. So that's sort of the elements that I was working with, and using again my mom's fabulous music to inspire that movement. So it was a weaving of many, many different elements and just different amounts of time. You know, any day I felt I could go out there and connect to the space is how that the improvisation turned into choreography, turned into an idea, turned into a storyboard, and so on.
I see. There is definitely the sense of the elegiac there at the Woolery Mill, the sense of it has almost a classical feeling of classical ruins. There's very much a sense of a civilization that has come and gone. And I'm wondering if that theme also played into your choreography and the way that you envisioned the Trashion show being sort of reenacted in that way. These ideas of things that have, you know, our human civilization being in fact so fragile, and what a theme that is in these Corona times.
Absolutely, yes. I was just going to say that concept of being fragile and being easily, maybe all of us realizing in 2020 that so many things could be easily taken away. And so I was originally wanting to do a really, you know, artsy, intense kind of, there's these really interesting rooms in there with broken glass everywhere. And I remember I took Lucas over and I said, okay, listen, I want to, you know, and he just kind of said, yeah, that's great, but this spot is so dangerous. You're going to dance in this broken glass in these rooms and everything. So I really wanted to get into that gritty feeling. And then I kind of, you know, with the influence of Lucas and my mom, you know, it started to become more, it had to be more open, it had to be more joyful, it had to bring something that can express that feeling of disconnected, but then also bring out hope. And so we started working with, I kind of moved away from being inside of the mill and out onto the limestone slabs that you see in the video outside of the mill, and had the mill as kind of a backdrop, like a reminder of what could be, right? The ruins, the civilization, everything's falling apart, but then also the hope through the raw material of like, wow, look at what was built in Bloomington through just limestone. Our whole structure, right? Our whole university, you know, everything kind of came from this material. And I just wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to respond to that rock, to the feeling of it, to the sturdiness. And I ended up playing more outside with those rocks. And I think it kind of made it somehow feel more hopeful, more like you know, you're breaking things apart to put them back together.
I love that metaphor too, in terms of the limestone that's right underneath our feet. The idea that all that we need is right under our feet and always has been. It's a terrific metaphor for that we play with a lot of times in the Trashion show as well. This idea that this idea that we have everything we need. Sorry, it's a bit noisy here. The the realities of Zoom calls. Lucas, before we go, I'd love to hear about the challenges that that site presented and the possibilities. It's an awesome, sublime setting for a shoot. Tell us about how you approached it.
Definitely. So I think there were two major approaches to this production. First of all was to kind of line up the location with Selena's vision for choreography, really capturing the kind of tension that we feel in 2020 and balancing that with hope. I think that the site specifically is really, really beautiful in doing that. And I think the second major way that we approached it was just to really honor the Trashion spirit. We really want to kind of capture that, because I think that in 2020, the Trashion spirit really is what we need, a spirit of resiliency and fragility, just being able to kind of grow in times of hardship. And so I really think that kind of trying to honor Trashion while using the location to its maximum representation is what we're trying to go for. And I think we did it really well. It was a super collaborative effort with Elina and Janiece and all the artists and designers involved. So obviously we had challenges with safety, but we always balance safety and precautions with COVID during the film. So safe to say that my team and I are really satisfied with how it turned out.
Thanks. It's a beautiful video. I love your coining the Trashion spirit. That's an expression we're going to have to get into the vernacular a little bit more. Finally, before we go, I'd like to pose a question, perhaps as the devil's advocate. In these extremely difficult times when so many people are experiencing loss, not only of life, of opportunity, but finances, economic loss. There's a great deal of loss around us. Things are extreme. Lives are pushed to the limit. Some people might say there's no room in that scenario for art. Art is this kind of frivolous plaything, this non-essential, to use a word that we've heard a lot these days. And so what would you say to those people who might suggest that dancing around in an abandoned quarry while the Titanic sinks is a frivolous activity? What would you say to folks? Why do we need art in 2020 in the midst of a pandemic? And all of you, please share your ideas.
Well, I think that the heart is the most important thing, and art is all kinds of different art, music, dance are things that are essential to keep our hearts open and keep our hearts feeling, and to honor the heart of humanity. And that's the most important thing, anyway, to me.
Elina?
I'll play the devil's advocate with you, because I have found myself out there also like, what am I doing? Just rolling around, gosh, I wish I had an essential job, and I think all artists have that. It happens to us even when people aren't questioning what we're doing. We're always questioning ourselves and what we're doing actually important? What's the difference that it makes? And honestly, I feel more and more as I do it, as I get older, as I learn more about my art form, and then also how to merge with other art forms, because I find that is the path that ends up happening. I find that, for one, it's honestly a sense of self-therapy. Like, if everyone actually knew how important it was to check in with their body or their creative process or their creative thoughts, and that if we all took that time for ourselves, that this world that we live in would be a less stressful, reactive place. And so I kind of, you know, used it as, okay, this is okay that I'm doing this because I need the therapy of dance right now. And then I'm sure that everyone else can want that too, right? But yeah, I think that, you know, what's essential out of all of it isn't that everyone watches the video or that, you know, what matters is that we keep creating, because I think that the creativity is what makes us take those building blocks, like going back to what we were saying, and move and put something together with it, right? If we didn't have the creative process in humanity, then we wouldn't be finding solutions to global pandemics. You know, we wouldn't be on our way to kind of make responses to things. So I think that the way that art works is that it gets our brain in a space where we can come up with other and also escape from wherever we're feeling trapped. So those are really, really valuable things to have in our lives. And you know, in short, I just hope that, you know, this video gives people the sense of feeling that though we didn't have it in person, there is always a creative way out of us to continue and continue.
Thank you. That's very well put. I have been speaking with the creators of the 2020 Trashion Refashion Screen Dance, the alternative production to the annual show. And they are choreographer and modern dancer Elina Jaffe, singer, vocalist, musician extraordinaire Janiece Jaffe, and videographer, producer Lucas Lim. Thank you all, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.